Hey guys, welcome back. It is time to talk Troll and Toad EVO merchants. We got some changes here by Troll and Toad that are very concerning for myself anyway. As somebody that purchases a lot of inexpensive cards, to see the fact that they are kicking people from their EVO merchant program, which is the other people other than Troll and Toad that send their cards into Troll and Toad sells them for them. So if you see an item on Troll and Toad, typically you'll have different seller options, Troll and Toad directly, or other stores usually that have an account with Troll and Toad through their EVO merchant program, and that can list and sell their cards on there. So they all are located at Troll and Toad. So it's a similar process or system to see TCG Player, except everything is in-house at Troll and Toad where they can pack stuff up, which is one of the strongest things I think about Troll and Toad over something like a TCG Player. We also have to be a little bit concerned that TCG Player is now acquired by eBay. What changes that will make. It seems like there's a lot of bad changes going on here. And not in my best interest anyway. It sucks for the stores that were selling through Troll and Toad EVO. It sucks for if the fees end up increasing now that eBay owns TCG Player. If that changes a little bit, the structure of that, so we could end up in a situation here where there's too many changes being made, or these bigger companies are acquiring, or eBay's or whatever are acquiring these larger platforms. And I think TCG Player even made some changes prior to the eBay acquisition. So we got to be real careful here. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it is changes that are worse for the customer overall, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think. We're going to read through the thread here on E4 by Vanilla Luxury, who titled it Troll and Toad EVO Merchant Being Kicked Out. So he is one of the individuals at the mercy of the Troll and Toad cuts that have been made. And before this thread, I hadn't heard anything about this. But okay, let's get into it. It looks like it's going to be a pretty long one. So we have Vanilla, who says, "Hey everyone, this past Monday I received an email stating that Troll and Toad is downsizing / reconstructing their business motto." Screenshot below. "I used to manage a shop here in Quebec, and given the amount of singles that didn't move, I would have loved to have a platform like Troll and Toad or TCG Player to sell singles worth 25 cents. However, at the time in 2016, that wasn't possible. The only platform I've been glued to is eBay. But selling singles less than $1 isn't worth the time, especially in these times. I bought out my shop when they closed back in 2018 and have everything sorted to the T since, as well as have higher end cards. I jumped through hoops trying to submit an application on TCG Player even recently in an attempt to sell off singles, and I do very well since I have a vast knowledge of every competitive format and a very good understanding of what players would pay for a single, given that I've vended at major events. Why did this change have to come? I think of EVO Merchant as like a consignee would accept a PSA graded collection like TCA Gaming, for example. I don't even send mass amounts of singles a month. I have very too little, and I sell out, not gloat or get cocky, fairly quickly since I get paid in USD and don't mind the value gap. It's been a phenomenal year being an EVO merchant. Why let me go? Did anyone get notified? Can you share your experience? I'd love to get back into the program. I honest to God can't wrap my finger around why this change has come, rather than, and again, not to throw shade, get cocky, reduce other people's inventory that's been sitting since I started. None of this adds up, and hopefully someone here could have a discussion with me about getting back in, or at least find a stable solution to continue to use the program, or shed light and I can rest peacefully. Thanks." So here we have the Troll and Toad statement to this particular EVO merchant or prior EVO merchant, and they say, Greetings, EVO merchants. We are emailing today to discuss upcoming changes with Troll and Toad EVO. First, we would like to thank you for your business. Since the inception of EVO, our intent has been to provide an alternative marketplace that allows a hands-off approach to e-commerce within the card game industry. You take care of the buying, submissions, and pricing, and we take care of the rest. Well, that is still our passion and intent. Recent economic situations and the rising cost of labor has made that equation take a shift. We have held out quite a while on making any changes, but we have to adjust to ensure the long-term health of EVO. One of the consistent issues in being service-driven has been that we are less in control of the quality of items we are devoting labor towards. Without giving specific examples, this is being done in enough volume that we have to make a correction. The option that we've chosen to proceed with is to drastically reduce the user base to EVO merchants who have exhibited the proper operating principles in terms of stocking inventory and sales. Leading up to October 1st, 2022, we will start sending inventory offers and returning inventory to merchants. On October 1st, we will be reducing the active EVO merchants to an exclusive list of merchants who have already been contacted. If you've not received that communication, then you should start making arrangements for your inventory. We would highly recommend the following. Like, how many? There can't be that many EVO merchants that you can't send a personalized, even semi-personalized email saying yes or no. You have to basically, if you didn't get contacted, then you didn't make the cut and make arrangements. You would think you would send specifics to each individual store or seller, but I guess not. Dragon Warrior says, sounds to me that they were getting too many returns on EVO orders. Sorry to hear you got cut. So that might play a role in it. Jack 2357, we would highly recommend the following. Where did they suggest you go? EV Team, what they could have done is increase the minimum card price to 50 cents and increase monthly storage fees. Then the people that have junk bulk cards there would naturally leave the EVO program. I think something like this is probably the better bet, like minimum card price, okay. I think minimum order over minimum card price, but at the same time, maybe they just need to create a cap on how many cards how many cards can be in the system. So if you have, however many non-holo Metachams from Lost Origin, if there's 100 in the system, if there's 100 in the inventory, then cap it at that, or 50, or whatever you want to do, and then just do not accept any more until they sell. I think that's what it comes down to, maybe something like that, so that you just don't end up with like someone sending in the entirety of their bulk. You need to have some of everything, I think, in order for Troll and Toad to really shine the way that it should. In terms of being able to pick up just any card you want. If you need those cards to complete your set, then by all means, that'd be great. But the bulky stuff is like a large reason why I use Troll and Toad. Yes, it can be a good place to shop for the slightly more expensive stuff, but just the fact that there's no other place that you can get everything. Not that you can't necessarily get everything on Troll and Toad, but chances are when you're doing sets, when you're looking for those few cards that you're missing from your set, Troll and Toad is usually the best option. No, they don't always show up at perfect condition. Sometimes I have to order a couple of each card in order to get ones that are in better shape. But limiting that catalog that you have is probably not the answer. Striker 2407 says, hi, I got the same email on Monday. I started only 2 months ago, and you used it as a solution for selling cards which were near mint by the American standard but wouldn't qualify as near mint for my card market store. So this is weird. Why are you accepting people into the EVO program and then a couple months later you're canceling a lot of the people in the EVO program? On CM, a near mint card isn't even allowed to have a single scratch, and I don't want to sell cards which are overgraded. In my experience, most people buying on card market. So here's maybe an example of why people are sending in stuff that isn't as described. So like, if it's near mint, if it's like people people are expecting some nice cards for near mint. No, they don't have to be perfect, but I think a near mint card should pretty much look like it came out of a pack. It doesn't necessarily have to be super flawless plus centering to the moon and everything else, no print lines, etc. But I think if you're sending in stuff that's all scratched up, that is debatable whether it's light play or near mint, probably not the play. CM aren't that picky on condition, but a few are, and I don't want them to complain and or have a bad time buying from me. So if they're complaining, chances are the people from Troll are complaining, you're just not seeing it. On my CM store, I mainly sell Sword and Shield Ultra Rare and the rarities above that, so my inventory sold quickly as well. I have some oddballs for my inventory like Skyridge Commons or Diamond and Pearl Hollows, but even those moved. It went so great that I was slowly moving my capital to buying inventory for EVO, as it was just so much more easy. Now I have several big packages at their warehouse which weren't processed, and I have to hope that their offer for my cards is reasonable, as I don't want to ship my cards over the pond again. So yeah, that's a difficult situation to be in. I heard in a live stream on YouTube that they only retained like 15 people, and those obviously had way bigger volume than we had. On top of that, they raised their fees and upped the minimum price. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know the exact reason why they cut their EVO sellers down that much, but I assume that a lot of people dumped cheap bulk cards and slow movers to EVO. Bulk isn't really lucrative, and I don't even know how someone would make money on selling bulk when they have to pay an employee to do the work. Another thing is that I think that sellers did too much undercutting the price. Troll and Toad wanted to sell V cards for $3 and VMAX for $4, but both of those were available for $1 or less from EVO sellers. Maybe. So they had too much competition on their own site on those cards. Maybe. I didn't often see this. I know TCG Player is almost always less on a lot of that stuff. But the problem with TCG Player is that you're getting it from different locations. So you got to pay. It's kind of like paying a little bit of a premium to buy the stuff on Troll. They all come from the same spot. It all gets mailed over at the same time. Versus, having to shop around and see if like the individual shipping cost from X, Y, and Z gaming, if all of those add up and end up being worth it. It's a lot more effort with TCG Player. There's a lot of places that don't, on TCG Player, that don't sell outside the US. So there's that. You'd have to get them all sent to a location in the US and then have them assembled together to really have the full inventory or full access to all of the cards for sale. So that's where Troll shines. I don't know. I'd have to check in this, but I don't think there were that many EVO sellers that were undercutting like modern Vs and VMAXs and stuff. I wish they took a different route in fighting those problems, but I can understand their decision. Therefore, I think that they won't go back on that decision for the foreseeable future. And if they start accepting new sellers, they'll probably have different guidelines and not everybody will get in. So that's maybe that's a thing. Maybe they just like overwhelm themselves with the amount of sellers that they had on there, that they have to look through everything. If you have issues with quality, with damage and everything else, maybe that's too much work for them. But I don't know. Surely there's a good way to prevent if there's any undercutting going on, like heavily undercutting or whatever. But if that's the issue, then the dollar VMAXs should be like sold out right away if they're undervalued. Or again, maybe only accept stuff from certain sets or certain eras or certain cards, certain rarities. Whatever they got to do, just put some guidelines in place. As for a stable solution, I don't know. I started again with doing weekly eBay auctions, but that's not really stable. P. Bale says, I'm also getting kicked out, but was only doing about 10K in sales a year through there. I think it just makes sense with the economy the way it is and the service they were providing. As mentioned above, they are raising fees and the listing minimum to the remaining merchants. In all honesty, they were just providing too good of a service for too cheap for too many people. Sad to see it go for myself, but I understand why they are doing away with smaller sellers. So I think this is gonna result in like a middleman kind of system where somebody that has an EVO program can sell your cards for you, or maybe they buy your card. I don't know how that would work exactly. It'd be hard to track. Which cards came in from the separate people, but EV team, for the folks that are losing their EVO status, what are you doing with your inventory that is in Kentucky? Are you going to try lower prices and sell quickly in the next month? Are you recalling all of your inventory, or are you hoping / planning to sell to Troll and Toad? I'm keeping most of my prices the same. They started processing my shipments a while back, so I sold all the hot inventory. All I've left now are some collection boxes, a few modern singles, and older Magic the Gathering from Visions and Urza's Legacy. On those cards, I've reduced the price as I hope that they sell over eBay. The shipments in their warehouse will probably be sold to them or to another merchant. They promise better rates than buy lists, so I hope that I get my cost of the cards back. I could let them send them back to me, but I don't want to deal with German customs and explain them the whole deal. Only get hit with a bill for VAT and duties anyways. Yeah, that's a whole sort of mess. Gotta catch 'em all says, I've been very happy with the EVO program, having been in it for about 18 months now. Incredible volume they can move for me and very reasonable fees in hindsight. And I've long worried too good to be true, which it was. We see now. Talked about it on YouTube a bit a year ago, and then stopped having seen the writing on the wall a la PSA ordeal. Fees already increased on raw fulfillment months back, and they are still inundated. Thankfully, I'm sticking with it, having gotten the prior email a few weeks back. I actually have told some of my viewers and followers I can make an offer on their inventory if they'd like, pending what it is and pending an upcoming chat with Troll and Toad on the future of the program. Don't want to buy dead cheap stuff. They're changing the program to get rid of. The change is largely coming due to high sales of items in the sub-dollar range, namely near the floor price of 20 cents. How they ever justified only charging 10 cents to sell a 20-cent item, I'm not sure. But that is a thing of the past, with the minimum list price going up higher. Fulfilling my own items in a small storage area can't come close to 100 per hour, which on those singles would only pay $10 per hour to them. When you say you stopped, does that mean you stopped selling on EVO program? I can't tell from your post whether or not you were removed as well. I only stopped talking about it and making videos devoted to it. Have been continuously using it and aggressively scaling with it ever since I first enrolled. So that's the thing too. If people are like aggressively scaling and then they decide to cut even more, or they cut the program altogether and they just only sell direct through Troll, I think that's where we get into issues. It can like burn some people pretty badly. Mostly just because it's not a lot of other options. Like you have your TCG player, but that's a whole lot more work on the end of the seller. So whether or not they're dedicated enough to get that and do that extra work. Vanilla says, thank you everyone for the replies. We have the same kind of inventory mentality, selling modern clothes to market, which is on their inventory manager page and somewhat better. My card sold within 24 hours, not to brag. Now I can see, but still can't justify this decision to cut my inventory and my enrollment cold turkey in less than 2 weeks. The near mint cards you and I listed, it's a science. We all know this, but come on, I sent them a cracked PSA 8 Dark Alakazam first edition, and they're claiming it MP cracked carefully enough. Those I never even listed to begin with. I'd end it there. I currently also have a massive order sitting in there in warehouse mode since August 9th. I can't stress how sad it is that I missed the cut. It takes me roughly 4 hours to sort them. No raw fulfillment on my end ever. How does it take them X months? There's a problem, but I never complained. I got offered what I currently have for sale. Total as of that hour was roughly $3,600, not including sealed and MP/unlisted cards. They offered $775. I politely asked them on Wednesday how they came up with that price. I can get better on Whatnot, and that platform is Lemurd. No reply. Thanks again for the replies. Video idea maybe. To add on, why then remove those who use the program and actively sell? They get their fees and storage payments in the end. Removing us from the program just like this, which yes, I know is in their power, wasn't fair. Let's be honest. Would you rather have someone send you 800 singles that move within the month, or 3,200 cards a week that sit for months? I'd also like to note to everyone reading, I in no means want to come off as a pompous or hateful towards anyone who works there or their position status. I know the economy is tough, etc. I do anything in my power to continue using the program. It's just been a quiet week here in my poker cave. Thanks again for everyone for sharing. So thanks for replying. Here's the rest of that email. Okay, so it says, start making arrangements for your inventory. We would highly recommend the following. Price your inventory aggressively to move. The best resolution from all sides is the inventory to sell to customers. We will be making offers on EVO inventory. This will consist of both singles offers for qualifying inventory and bulk offers that will exceed our current bulk rates. We will be doing this so that you get a better return on those items and to encourage you to sell off the subpar inventory. Bear in mind, if you choose to bypass the accelerated bulk offers and have your items shipped back, you will be responsible for the shipping cost. The pulling cost will be complimentary. If none of these options work, as mentioned, we will also ship returns. We understand that this is a drastic operational change, which is why we are trying to provide complimentary services and helpful recommendations to make this transition as simple as possible. Our biggest priority is to ensure the efficiency of our operation and provide the best iteration of Troll and Toad that we can to our customers. We feel these changes are a step in the right direction. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer support team and we will assist in any way we can. Cool. Striker 2407 says, well, now I can't wait to get the offer for my inventory. Now I really have to lay out my options and think about what I'll do with all those cards. We got Mason's perspective from Cardinal Gaming. I haven't watched this video yet. I'm going to have to. What kind of mess did they create? BK 2021, kind of confused about how the system used to work. Was EVO Merchant a combination of all the small merchants? So you ship your stuff to Troll and Toad and then who determines the price if there are thousands of sellers under that one merchant? I've only read bad things about them on Reddit / old threads where those who send them bulk, how are they different from merchants, get lowballed offers, and if they declined, were sent back the cards damaged from lack of care and shipping. For buyers, card condition is inconsistent. Also, as someone who lives outside the US but whose country uses Troll and Toad for pricing, it's such an overpriced site. And if it's true, condition sucks. It's a wonder why it's being used when TCG Player has cheaper pricing and more user-friendly navigation. You can't buy from a lot of places on TCG Player outside of the United States. Striker 24/7. The EVO program is a fulfillment service like Amazon FBA. As a seller, you'd send them your cards and they'd store, list, sell, and ship them. The seller would set the price. Every seller would show up individually on the Troll and Toad site. So here's the example here. Here's your EVO stores from the different stores, their different prices, the quantity that they have. Holy crap, scoop up net 435. So like J&N cards, you probably don't need to sell 435 scoop up nets. I can understand if you have it all in your inventory, that's probably where you want to send it. These like playable trainers and stuff like that, it would be a great spot to sell those, especially to players in the US that are building decks or whatever. But yeah, maybe this is just like quantity issue that like maybe you just need to dial this back. Maybe have a cap per store that can how many they can sell, and then maybe have a cap per total items in the Troll and Toad warehouse. But on the screenshot, you can see that Troll and Toad is out of stock, but there are 4 listings, and those are EVO sellers. The threads you read were probably talking about their buy list or something like that. I never used them for that, so I can't really talk about that, but I never sent them cards that wouldn't qualify as near mint under TCG Player guidelines, and even then, a few got graded as MP. I know there are a lot of negative threads about them on Reddit where people will obsess about how bad they are, but you have to keep in mind how much they actually sell. They got over 2 million views on their site per month, and therefore there will be a few buyers which aren't happy and voice their anger on the internet, which is totally fine. This thing, you gotta like set your expectations realistically when it comes to condition. And yes, if you're buying something that's more expensive, you can always return it if it's got scratches all over it or it's bent in half and it's not near mint, clearly not near mint, and just send it back to them. And then at that time, it could be a lot of the returns, a lot of the complaints were coming from some of these newer or smaller EVO merchants. So maybe that plays into it a little bit. On TCG Player, you need to visit countless stores to get the singles if you want to buy the cheapest option. And if you buy from one of those giant stores like Cardinal Gaming or Core TCG, you have to pay a higher price too. It's just easier to buy from a single store/site. Agree. And if you're trying to save time, you definitely save a lot of time. Vanilla says, right, but I didn't send bulk. I sent things that move. Yes, I have some cards that don't sell as fast, but with the reasons they gave, storage will creep up, and it has, making those cards basically turning them my profit. I get that there's a crash, but I never sent an amount of bulk that would sit there. I'm getting a better understanding, but still can't wrap around why just remove the seller entirely. I'd be discouraged now to send cards worth 25 cents, making it easier for them to sort my 200 card submission given the fees have gone up. So it'd be nice if eBay implemented some sort of system that's similar to this. Even as like a seller, per seller, that if you could have bulk cards, but I mean, you have like the combined shipping, but if there was just a better system of like inventory all of your bulk, all of your cards, and just say like you have to buy over X dollars in order for this to ship or whatever from the one seller. I'm not sure exactly how that would look, but an option, something similar to this. It sucks that there's going to be less variety, less product on the EVO program, and that it's going to be more expensive per card. It's an all around loss. I think in terms of on the buyer end, for anyone if you were buying the more expensive cards on there, typically eBay's your better option anyway. But for all the master set collectors or people that are looking to put together binders of certain cards that want to pick out certain singles, this is an all-around kick in the nuts for all of you. Honestly, if someone like TCA Gaming, I know there's a massive comparison, can receive massive amounts of emails and graded cards /packs and have time to list his cards, etc., why can't a warehouse do that as well? I've done it at my store and have players here move their collections to me through EVO. Should I ask someone to sell their cards for me at this point? Wouldn't make a difference in their warehouse /workloads. Now under the impression their day-to-day mandate process was a bunch of teens goofing off and complaining. Highly believe that comes from the bulk. Thanks everyone who replied. All right, so we got an update. Honestly, I don't want to gloat, but I might just be right. Singles have been in warehouse mode since early August. Need a little drink here. Good afternoon. May I have a shipment order 47400 as a rush? I'd like to have those singles up for sale during the weekend, hopefully sold before October 15th. Let me know. Thanks. Hello, we do apologize at this moment. We have no plans of processing this order through, but we can have it shipped back to you as soon as possible if that is what you wish. So, interesting. EV Team says that is crappy business. They should have given a longer warning than just a month and put a pause on incoming shipments of cards for a little while before making that announcement. I completely agree. And they should have stopped taking applications like quite a while beforehand, I would think. Gotta catch them all says, I'll definitely be doing a video on it in the coming weeks, but I'm waiting to hear back from them and have some further conversations. I have many people reaching out to sell their inventory to me, but the problem is much of it is inventory that is falling under the new minimum price, moving ahead 69 cents. And so isn't stuff I would want to take. As I said earlier, fulfilling cards for 10 cents each, 20-cent list, 50% fee, never made any sense to me and would have only been profitable due to bundling. Well, that's the idea, like the bundling. Basically, Troll and Toad is a bundling service, is kind of what it works out as. It's that they have everything in one location. They bundle that bad boy. As far as why/how they were so backlogged, it was along the same lines as PSA's backlog, I would imagine. They were charging too little for too long for a limited capacity service, and I heard of literal pallets of product being sent to them for raw fulfillment, paying only 6, more recently 10 cents per item to have them categorized, conditioned, and listed again. I just can't see how they were making any money. True. I think what it comes down to is a bit of Pareto principle in action. They likely get 80% of their net from 20% or less of their sellers, and cutting off some or all of that 80% and raising the fees on the 20% that remain will allow for quicker service turnaround times and just a better experience for those involved. The fulfilling time is static, whether the card is 20 cents or $20. Just their cut jumps up a bunch as the average item value goes up. So, very true here. Maybe their fee structure is the problem, because you would think that, I mean, their inventory is good, but it's not perfect. Like, there's definitely cards that are not available at certain times. Or just like, all you have to do is maybe just like say, hey guys, cool it on bulk from modern stuff or whatever. Just put a hold on all of that. Gandalf says, really interesting thread. I wasn't aware of this service until the thread, despite knowing about Troll and Toad. I'm curious if they would ever open this up again / consider taking on new sellers that only deal with higher value cards in the $3 to $20 range. I have a lot of binder copy vintage hollows that come from fishing for mint copies, and I'm too busy to even consider operating at the scale necessary to turn those over. Very true. So it's hard to say. Maybe it'll come back someday. Maybe they'll get a better system in place. It sounds like it just needs to be tweaked. The system needs to be tweaked, because there's definitely money to be made in the fact that you're just bringing everything into one location. And competition in terms of pricing is never a bad thing. It's just making that sustainable for the business itself. They got to make their money. Sellers that send everything to them have to make their money. People want a variety. People want the best price. So it's clearly, if they got to store everything, it's not going to be as good as TCG Player or eBay on the more expensive stuff. But that's about it. I think it sucks. Hopefully they get their stuff together, they figure it out, and they keep doing their thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Join the Discord. Bye.